Okay, hey everybody. So I was assigned to do brief exercises 8-1, -2, and -8. I went ahead and did them already just to make sure I was giving you guys the right information. Um, but yeah, we can go through them really fast, and then if you guys have any questions, leave them in the discussion board. That way, hopefully someone smarter than me can answer them for you. Just kidding. So with this one, I started out with the B because it's a note, obviously, so it's going to be notes receivable, and then sold merchandise on account, so we're looking at keywords here, and obviously that's accounts receivable. And then I guess this is where it gets a little different this week. I guess we might have touched it before too, but this isn't necessarily advancing $10,000 to an employee isn't necessarily an account or a note, so it's another type of receivable because we're going to be receiving that labor later on, hopefully. Moving on to 8.2, it's similar to problems we've been doing in the past weeks. So we have some transactions that happened on July 1st, July 8th, and July 11th. And I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but I always like to go ahead and put the dates in and just read through it and make sure that there's something that needs to be recorded there. So on July 1st, we have Swifty Corporation sold merchandise on account to Stacy Incorporated for $22,800, and then we have the terms right here. So we debit accounts receivable for that amount, and then we credit sales revenue for that amount as well because we're selling our merchandise. And then on July 8th, Stacy Incorporated returned merchandise worth $2,600 to Swifty Corporation. So since they're making returns, we're going to debit the sales returns and allowances account for $2,600, and then we're going to credit accounts receivable for $2,600. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. This question seemed like what we have been doing, so hopefully you guys don't have any problems with this, but if you do, just let me know. And then moving on to July 11th, we have Stacy Incorporated paid for the merchandise. So here's where the terms come in. So we are taking the original $22,800 and subtracting the returns and allowances, which was $2,600, and then we get $2,200. And with this sort of thing, I like to work backwards and go ahead and type in accounts receivable for that amount for $2,200, because then in my mind it balances out. So we have $2,200 plus the $2,600 we had up here equals the original amount. And then from there, we want to see what the discount was, so we are multiplying that by the $2,200 remainder by 0.03. So the discount was $606. So we go ahead and record that underneath sales discounts, and then we're debiting that account as well. And then we're going to debit cash for the difference between that original accounts receivable, which was $20,200, and then we subtract the sales discounts, and then we get $19,594, and then we go ahead and debit that to the cash account and then submit that. And moving on to 8-8, the big thing here, for you guys to notice, let me pull up the text real fast. Control F this. make sure you guys are paying attention to this right here. It says in the text, it says there are different ways to calculate interest. For example, the computation in illustration 8-14, which is this here, assumes 360 days for the year. Financial institutions use 365 days to compute interest. And then it says for homework problems, assume 360 days to simplify computations. So make sure you guys are doing that to avoid some frustration. So yeah, the first part is just the maturity. So 60 days from April 1st is May 31st, obviously, and 30 days from July 2nd is going to be August 1st, and then 6 months from March 7th is going to be September 7th. Hopefully you guys get that. If not, let me know. And then for the interest, how I like to do it is you take the principal amount. So for A, we have $563,600, and then the annual interest rate is 11%. So we're going to multiply that, and we get the total annual interest in a year. If you were going to pay interest for a year on that note, would be $61,996. But then I like to simplify it down to days, and remember we're using 360 days for this year, so divide by 360. So then we'd get the interest per day on that note is $172.21111. But then since our terms are 60 days, and this is our daily amount, we're going to multiply that by 60, and we get 10,332.6667. You just round that up to 10,333. The text has a simpler version, but in essence you're doing the same thing, and I kind of like to break it down into units of days because it helps me to keep track of where I'm at in my process a little better. But yeah, read the text if you want to see the quicker formula. Okay, so for this next one, our principal is $85,950 times our annual interest rate of, so this one, I guess you guys don't start out knowing the annual interest rate. So I like to do, like, if you think back to high school, middle school, the cross multiplication for these sorts of things. So our interest rate is X out of 100%, and then our total interest is, sorry, let me see if I can pull up a whiteboard so I can explain this for you guys. Sorry. Okay, so I don't know how to do a whiteboard, but yeah, if you don't know cross multiplication, look it up. It's just basic algebra at that point, which is basically all we're doing with this interest thing. But just keep in mind that it's 30 days and we have 360 days in a year. And you should be able to work that out. And then we end up getting 9% for this problem. And then, sorry, I should have thought about getting a whiteboard app or something up before I started this recording, but now I know for next time. So for C, we have our principal of $126,560, and then our annual interest rate is 12%, which the 12 part is kind of convenient. We kind of know how this is going to work out, but I still like to simplify it down, so we'll do months this time instead of days. So that's our monthly interest rate, and we multiply that by, wait, messed up there. Sorry guys. So our principal amount is this times 0.12. So there's our annual interest rate. So really we could divide by 2, but just to appease me, we'll do divided by 12 is our monthly interest rate, and then times 6 months, and you get, round up, 7,594. Yeah, sorry for this video, it's my first time, but if you guys have any questions, leave them in the discussion board and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. But thanks guys.